The girl thinks the whole class doesn't understand Russian, so every day I say something mushy to my desk mate in Russian, coquettish love words. But what he didn't know was, in fact, the Russian of the male protagonist is already at native language level. Malasko, ouch. Such a cold muse, but I just like it and read it often, playing games at the same table. Although every time I see the male protagonist, Ellie always acts so disgusted, but actually, the next Russian is his truth. However, Ellie doesn't know the male protagonist is actually a child playing with Russian girls. In order to communicate with each other, I worked hard to learn Russian. Although I know that Ellie has been using Russian to hide her shame, but the male protagonist never dared to tell each other because he is afraid Ellie, who learns the truth, will be shot on the spot. Therefore, in order to relieve the embarrassment, he decided to start the game and draw a card. But I didn't expect it to be so random. He actually directly got the SS2 character possessed by Yu Huang. However, I haven't waited for him to be happy for 2.5 seconds before Ellie snatched the phone away. See that the character's hair is silver instead of black, and also heard the male lead's regular meeting cute. This also made Ellie a little jealous. After all, you're also silver-haired, but he didn't dare to say it to his face, but once again used Russian as a shield. It's lunchtime. The male protagonist is having dinner with 2 good buddies, but unexpectedly, the 3 muses of the student union also appear here. Except for the famous mixed-race joke Ellie, not only is his sister Marcia here, and there is also a play with a beautiful face. At first, the male protagonist didn't care, but I never thought that the show had already targeted him. I also learned it through talking to a few people. It turns out that Yuki and the male protagonist are childhood sweethearts. And after hearing that the relationship between the two is so good, Ellie's heart was inexplicably jealous. The next day, the male protagonist came to school early, so he and Ellie are on duty today, but he did it all on a whim. Soon Ellie came too. Seeing this scene, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. Also unexpected is the male protagonist because he noticed that the other party's socks were very dirty. Ellie explains it was wet from the truck splash on the road. It's a little unlucky, but don't worry because there are spares at school. However, when he took off his socks, but found the male protagonist actually turned his head like a gentleman, and that gave him an evil idea. That is to ask the male protagonist to do me a favor, get the spare socks from the closet. After all, I have already taken off one, not very convenient to walk. Although I don't know what kind of plane the other party is doing, but the male protagonist still brought it for him. But he never thought of it. The next second, Ellie actually asked him to put it on for herself, even said it was his reward. At first, the male protagonist wanted to refuse. After all, he's not some perverted special group. But when I hear the word wimp, this also made him no longer hesitate, decisively captured Ellie's prison clan. And this sudden toughness makes Ellie a little embarrassed. Damn it, come and pick it up. Me. Where do I have it? How bad is it? After hearing a fragrant foot, the male protagonist lay down excitedly for a long time. I didn't forget to send a message to my sister. They seem to have awakened a particular habit. Okay, it's time for the male lead to find Ellie. I hope the other person can forgive me. But I didn't expect Ellie to not only have fun, and even cared if he got kicked. Seeing this, the male protagonist hurried to express that it didn't matter. On the contrary, he has to thank the other party. Let yourself see something good. Tony. We are the key to Germany. Ali asked us to be on the battlefield. Your mother fairies good luck. Next 2, you chase me. Without realizing it, he ran outside to calm down Ellie. Male leader, watcher follower, pulls out a bottle of red bean soup because he knows it's his favorite drink. Seeing the male protagonist observe so delicately, Ellie forgave him. And then there's this. What a nuke. Dundonato. My model uses your ADDI unit. He's a low model. You should bother to Nipponumias. The mixed-race school beauty never thought of it. His favorite desk mate to be so close to other girls, as if he didn't care about him at all. I was thinking of using Russian that no one else could understand. Feel free to say a few words. But what he didn't know was, in fact, the male protagonist can understand every word of his. Wachaya Aberdini. Money. Hazgas. Where to move. However, what he didn't expect was, you see yourself as a rival in love. In private, it is actually the sister of the same table. During the day, he served as the publicity committee member of the student council. When I got home, I was immediately transformed. Became a proud little girl who loves to read comics, even like to use a weird way to wake up my brother. On this day, the brother and sister decided to go out and buy some clothes. Didn't shop for long, I found the love that was secretly observed from behind. Just when the male protagonist was a little at a loss, May once missed her sister, but chose to take the initiative. And this move by Yuxi caught Ali off guard in an instant. I can't wait to find a hole and get into it. Then to ease the embarrassment, Yuki suggested that the 3 of you go eat noodles together. Hearing the words, the male protagonist suddenly realized his sister's small thoughts, so he quickly proposed to change the place. However, Ellie was not happy when she heard this. It means it's just a noodle, no problem. But when they actually arrived after that, the huge word hell on it scared Ellie silly. It turns out that this is the hottest ramen restaurant. Even the name of the package is different. Although Ellie feels trapped, but after all, the male protagonist was also present, you can easily show weakness. In the end, The three of them chose a slightly spicy one. However, when the ramen is served, Ellie suddenly felt bad. I finally plucked up the courage to take a sip. I never thought about the spiciness, but it went straight to the sky. Oh yeah, that's gonna move us next to Easel, oh? Nigiga, what is it, Dada-sanai? Yeah? Yo, I miss you going back to your mother for a long time. See, Ellie's still trying to be strong. Yuki plans to continue to let go. Name this bottle of chili oil like Ghost. Recommend to each other. Seeing this, the male protagonist hurriedly stopped, but Ellie said it was only a drop. Not a big problem. Do you want to leave first after dinner? And to make Ellie feel better, the man bought him an ice cream. After that, the two decided to go shopping together. Thinking of how gentle the male protagonist was just now, Ellie mistakenly thought that the other party was underestimating him. So he decided to wear the outfit he was proud of to make the male protagonist shy enough to bump around. If the other party doesn't respond, even perfunctory replies, he rewarded the male protagonist with a big fight. It's all started. Then you get a dead ghost, but no one picks it up. Man says, man. Oh my god. How to take the test in Aiden. Levi's. Kawaii what? Kawaii what? But then I had a thought. The other party will praise you for being so skilled. It seems that he must be complimenting others a lot. Since Yuki is wearing a boy style today, then you can't lose. Oh, Mr. Kawaii. Oh, take more glass models. Kawaii, kawaii, kawaiisha. Ellie was praised so much that she was about to float away, so the last set he plans to wear is big. Be brave. What's what STEM April is? Uguna Baby does it. And then they were ready to go home. During this period, Ellie has been in a confused state. Even if the male protagonist and the game get off the bus side by side, he's still basking in the shame he just had. The mixed-race school beauty never thought of it. The object of his crush at school was the same person as my sister's childhood sweetheart. But because of the long time, even if they are on the same campus but still can't recognize each other. But Ellie didn't know that at the time. I only care why the male protagonist gets off the bus with the game. I saw my sister just got home, just frowning. My sister immediately smelled the smell of love. Without thinking about it, he knew that the other party must be his. Although Ellie still wants to argue they were just friends, but why did the two become friends? After all, he knew Ellie doesn't like people who are loose-headed. As soon as this statement comes out, Ellie couldn't help but remember the experience of meeting the male protagonist. It was his first class when he first started school. Although the two were the same at the beginning, but the other party's loose personality, but it left him speechless. Not only do you often sleep in class, but you always forget your textbooks. Even gym class always wants to be lazy. He didn't expect that even a prestigious school there will be such students. Just when he thought the two would never meet, the school announced today news of the upcoming student machine, and their class decided to play the haunted house. In Ellie's opinion, since you want to do something, you must do your best. But in the eyes of other students, this kind of thing doesn't need to be taken seriously at all. Results until after school, he was the only one in the classroom still rushing to work. This lonely scene just like 6 years exactly the same as when I was in Russian school. The teacher at that time assigned similar homework. Let everyone investigate in groups what shops are nearby, and the best team gets an award. Ellie was full of energy. Since you have done it, you must compete for the first place. But it wasn't until he finished investigating that he went back to school. I just found out that the other members haven't started at all. I even think it's okay to just fool it. Ellie exploded instantly when she heard this. Several people also quarreled because of this, but that doesn't bring any emotion. In the end, he took it all by himself. The moment the teacher announces the results, not surprisingly, the excellent team and Ellie didn't make it at all. Since then, others make up their minds to stop relying on others. Everything depends on yourself. However, what he didn't expect was the unexpected appearance of the male protagonist on this day, but it completely changed his long-standing insistence. Different from the laziness of the past, this time the other party showed a rather serious side. Not only did he invite the handicraft department to help, he even got a school sleepover through his connections. But this will make everyone clean up. At first, Ellie was a little skeptical, but it wasn't until the next day that the plan was implemented, only to find that the students were instantly clean and full. Just a few days passed. Not only the costumes for the haunted house were successfully completed, other things are also going on in an orderly manner. Wait until the day of cultural memory. With the joint efforts of all, their class also successfully won the Excellence Award. And after going through this, Ellie completely understood. Some things are useless just by one person's efforts. The key is to get people to work together. Bring results. I saw that the male protagonist did not participate in the celebration party. Ellie took the opportunity to sit next to him and, as a thank you for his help, he asked the male lead if there was anything he wanted. The male protagonist first thinks a little and then had an idea. I heard that it seems to be useful in Russia, the habit of calling each by name. So he doesn't want to be like everyone else and call him Article 9. Instead, call him Ellie. You said you couldn't make it past 4 o'clock. Take the card down and type it. It's gone. What? And then 3 of Ellie's little fans suddenly came over and wanted to ask him to dance with me. Ellie wanted to politely refuse by not jumping, but I didn't think about it. But the other party said it would move. The male protagonist didn't want to be too high profile, but he looked at Ellie's expression and was very embarrassed. You are cruel enough. Smoke, what a sigh. eye. Sorry, and this is how they met. It's just something that leaves Ali speechless. The next day, the male protagonist resumed his previous laziness. The screen turns back to the present. After listening to my sister's love story, this also made my sister more convinced of their relationship. Just like when she was a child, she was like the scriptures. Although the two have played together, but when they grew up, they never saw each other again. However, my sister at this time did not know the person she misses is actually the male protagonist. On the second day, the male protagonist came to the student union to help. I never expected to meet Ellie's sister by accident, although the two of them didn't talk much, but thanks to my sister's daily nagging, Masia was very familiar with him. I wanted to show a lot of care by shaking hands. It can be seen up close. He realized that the person in front of him was inexplicably familiar. So with doubts, he asked what the full name of the male protagonist was. Since the pronunciation of Zhenjing and Zhengjing is very similar, so Marsha can't be entirely sure. So he went ahead and tried it out in Russian. What man no say? Of course, this was a joke. Masha just simply fell in love with this, much like Ellie's doll. What he really wanted was to buy some tea leaves, but because this is not the appearance of the male protagonist, so he can't give any reference suggestions. Maybe if it's a sister, after all, the other party. But he grew up under his mother's education. He himself followed his father's childhood. His parents' divorce was a past he didn't want to bring up. But this is the moment Maja suddenly stopped him just because he noticed that the male protagonist seemed a little uncomfortable. Did I throw a ghost? And soon after, the two also successfully completed the purchase and returned to school. Seeing this, the student president also expressed his gratitude to the male lead. After all, without him, maybe this place is going to become a dreamland. The male protagonist smiled awkwardly after listening. Then wonder why haven't I seen Ellie for a day? President Wenyan said he's dealing with a dispute between the baseball department and the football department. I thought I would give it to him as a practice, but it doesn't seem to be going well if it hasn't come back until now. As soon as this statement comes out, immediately made the male protagonist have a bad premonition, and that's exactly what he thought. Since the football department will have regional qualifiers this year, so hopefully baseball doesn't give them the playground. But it just so happens that the baseball department also has games this year, and this playground was originally dedicated to them. So neither side allowed the other. Although Ellie thought of making one of them goes to the Riverside venue to practice, but who will compromise easily? Go to a place with poor conditions? And for the war of words between the two sides, Ellie, stop talking about conditions. We don't even have a lot of opportunities for illustration. This scene can't help but remind him of the past again. He has always been alone, although this is the path he chose, but still a little unwilling. And the male protagonist also listened to it outside the door at this time, although it feels pitiful, but he felt that for Ellie, it's also a kind of growth. But just as he was about to leave, he did more than just take me. What? He brought lemons? Our male protagonist finally decided to come and help. After all, who would choose to turn a blind eye? After expressing that things had changed from President Naird, immediately after, he suggested that the baseball team go to the Riverside field. And as compensation, also from the football department with a large number of people, get some people over there to help the baseball department. As soon as the voice fell, it caused the dissatisfaction of the baseball department, but the minister had something on his mind. Just when Ellie panicked, the male protagonist looks at stopped on the agent in the football department. Surprisingly, next second, 3 girls offered to help in the baseball department. Hear this, the other members of the baseball team instantly blushed. It seems good to say that. And the baseball secretary, who has never spoken, also formally expressed his approval. The strong football department doesn't say much more. A dispute was perfectly resolved by the male protagonist. On the way back, Ellie was still puzzled because it seems that the male protagonist knew from the beginning the broker will volunteer to assist. Hearing the words, the male protagonist explained. In fact, the agent was talking to the head of baseball communicate. Although the socially awkward Ellie doesn't know this, but the thing about the two of them dating, but there's a lot of buzz about it. And the reason why the baseball secretary never spoke, just because the girlfriend is opposite, he can't get along. It's the same with the girls. He understands that the people in the football department are pushing their luck, but there is no good way. So the male protagonist acts as a staircase, perfect for the needs of all 3 parties, and that's where it comes in. Unexpectedly, the student president has been waiting at the door for a long time. Seeing this, the male protagonist also realized that he had won the lottery. The other party's purpose is hope he can join the student government, and that's it. The male protagonist no longer hesitates, so he expressed his willingness to join. Although the president is well aware of all this, but in Ellie's eyes, it's a mystery. He doesn't know the male protagonist who has been refusing to join. Why is it unusual today? Is it to help Yusi? The male protagonist said, "What if it is? Are you dropping out of the presidential race?" However, Ellie's attitude was determined, threatening to become the student president. Even if the opponent is a male protagonist, he will never give up. Seeing Ellie keep going like this, the male protagonist also decided to speak his truth. That is, he will do his best to assist the other party in becoming the student president. This is the purpose for which he joined the student union. From now on, he will never be alone again. I will always support him by my side. And this sudden emotion, it won't work for Ellie in an instant. Mary Toon. Please don't be so bright. That's a big deal. The first thing the male protagonist thinks of is the neighbor homegirl, but the next second he should be dumbfounded because of a woman's sixth sense, sometimes very accurate. IMO. It looks good. It's rare to look back at ideons. That's nice. Cosette. Gun. However, the fight is the fight. In hindsight, Ellie also understood his actions seem a little rude. Therefore, he decided to leave before, give the male protagonist a cheek tattoo. Although this is a common occurrence in Russia, but this bite completely messed up the male protagonist. Ali when she got home. Skinny, hey, I'm in dinosaur? Oh, big watermelon. Yes. Night, so Nicodota night. Just when he was thinking, then his sister suddenly came back. It just makes him feel weird. Fang actually sat there motionless. I only found out after asking. Original, my sister had a wonderful encounter today. It looks like I found a childhood playmate. At the same time, my sister also understands why Ellie fell in love. You have no skin. You can stay skiing. A word is so dangerous. Yo, then you can isolate it, and you have to be so bad. Then that's still that small. Come here, huh? And the other side, the male protagonist just got home. I ran into the wrong kind of girl who deliberately played tricks on him. Sister. And the reason given by the play is also very strange. That's two people living under the same roof for so long, the other party never saw him change his clothes. You know, this is what happens to all siblings. And when he said that, he was shocked, but he was even more shocked. That is, the male protagonist confesses and will do his best to assist the fact that Ellie became the student president. Of course, this was a joke. In fact, I don't care if there is a play, because brother-sister duels like this are savage. King's blood. Not to mention, he knows that his brother likes himself the most. It's just a pity that I failed to become the one who made my brother bring up clean people. However, when the male protagonist woke up the next day, he found that every day the sister who wakes him up in a strange way, and it's nowhere to be seen today. This also made him suspicious. Did what he said last night make him sad, considering that the other person may be hiding under the covers and crying? So the male protagonist decided to make up for him a little. Unexpectedly, I just got out of bed. His sister surprised him in another way, more accurately, fright. However, it has not been arrogant for 2.5 seconds. Yuxi found herself stuck under the bed and couldn't get out. I wanted to ask my brother to help me. Unexpectedly, the other party smiled evilly. At the same time, Ellie here. Since yesterday was another kiss and confession, as a result, his current mood is a little delicate. I don't know what attitude to take towards the male protagonist. I thought it would be fine as usual. But unfortunately, today's male protagonist is a little different. Not only does he look more energetic, the side face is a little handsome. Can't help but make his heart beat a little faster. Is the other party really washing for themselves? Heart leather noodles? Just when he was a little confused, in gym class, the male lead was accidentally hit by the ball. So take advantage of the other party's rest, Ellie took the initiative to find it and asked him if he was injured. The male protagonist of classical Chinese thinks it is incredible. I didn't expect Ellie to be so worried about herself, but what he didn't expect was, to check his physical condition, Ellie actually touched his forehead with her hand. Although I don't understand being hit in the back of the head and what's the matter ahead, but to see such a welfare scene, other issues don't seem to be so important. Shutters Davis. Just a man shut up ticky nigga. Mad knowing you are all this woman that you got. Nani Excavator wonderful local tyrant. You can survive the winter. Cleaning pressure other Japanese jobs jam him. And for the stupid eyes of the male protagonist, Ellie herself didn't notice. On the contrary, he also suggested whether to drink some water first. The male protagonist naturally did not refuse this. It just so happens that his body is a little hot now. But just after he took a sip, unexpectedly, the scene in front of him made him imagine. So it's too late to think. You can only rush to let yourself reduce the fire. However, the two did not know. This scene happened to be seen by Masia. See the male protagonist with wet hair? Masia decisively took out his towel. This scene, Ellie suddenly got rough. Then he took the male protagonist's hand and walked back. The male protagonist thought he was going to be scolded again. Unexpectedly, Ellie was still worried about his head. He was a little overwhelmed at this moment. Why is the other party so abnormal? Is it the shy period? So, in order to fully understand, he asked Ellie why she was so gentle with him today. Wenyan Ellie is also ready to tell the truth. It turns out that the male protagonist slept every time he was in class before, but something is wrong today, so he was worried that something had happened. However, when I heard the male protagonist reply that I had enough sleep last night, Ellie's little face turned red instantly. You know, what happened yesterday kept him up all night, and the male protagonist protagonist seems to have nothing happened. It seems that the other party is a scum. Seeing Ellie about to explode, the male protagonist also knows bad things, so he took the initiative to move his left face closer. "Ah, then you are my sprinkler belt, you ant belt." And I saw this. The male protagonist is at ease. After all, this is the true love in his eyes. Suddenly, it's school time. The male protagonist and Ellie came to the student union office together. Although everyone is already familiar with it, but since the male protagonist is joining for the first time, the president still let him introduce himself. And the love that was still angry just now, after hearing the male protagonist publicly express will assist him in running for student president, instantly become happy. After the self-introduction is completed, the male protagonist has also officially become a member of the student council. However, just then, Yuki suddenly stopped Ellie and said that he would go to the art department next to discuss some related matters. Hope as an accountant, he can accompany you. Although it sounds normal, but the male protagonist feels that there are other 7 holes. And that's exactly what he thought. They didn't go straight to the art department. I ended up in an empty classroom. Ellie was the first to express her position, said he would run for election with the male protagonist. Although I vaguely guessed that the relationship between the two is not ordinary, but he was neither about to back down nor apologize. There are no complaints about this. After all, this is the male protagonist's own choice, and he didn't intend to vent his dissatisfaction. It's just a little regretful that the other party didn't choose him. But it doesn't matter what you say. Ellie is even more curious about their relationship. But what he didn't expect was there is a direct self-violence in the West, and I love the male protagonist deeply. Even threatened, I love him more than anyone else. But with me, so much freedom. Skit don't cover. Couldn't I get up? I want to be Sunika. The game is relieved to hear this. And while the two were leaving, the relationship between the male protagonist and Ellie's sister is also gradually developing. After warming up through communication, take note, the other party seems to know a lot about Russia. Although the male protagonist said due to the influence of grandfather, but I was thinking about my childhood neighbor in Russia, homegirl. It was at this moment Lucy and Ellie just came back. But what shocked the male protagonist, after returning, Ellie seemed to have changed into a different person. Obviously the seats are so spacious, but you have to stick to yourself, also euphemistically called a Russian custom. What about young women? Sitting in the corner position will be unlucky. Go to the dance. Therefore, in order to relieve the embarrassment, the male protagonist asked Sister Ellie, "Is there really such a heterosexual in Russia?" Immediately said he had a roommate, but to be precise, you will get married later. Could it be that his sister has already met? Are you married? So much is your honor. The male protagonist of Wenyan almost died, although he pretended not to understand, but Masya can understand it. It seems that my sister must have said something to Ellie, so in order to clear up the misunderstanding, when going back, the male protagonist decides to invite Ellie to the restaurant for a chat. Girl you. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Ellie asked, ask the male protagonist if he is dating Yui, and after hearing a negative answer, Ellie was also a little surprised. The male protagonist quickly explained that Yuki is not as ladylike as she seems. All he does is play a trick on people. But it didn't matter. The important thing is that in this situation, he can't win the game. You know, in junior high school, a total of 12 people participated in the student president election, but after the game participated in the debate conference. Nearly half of them quit voluntarily. This is enough to show how terrifying the power of the game is. And seeing the analysis of the male lead, Ellie is also a little unconvinced. I even accidentally injured the straw without realizing it. In desperation, I had to replace it with a spoon to relieve the embarrassment. It is also at this time, in his mind, an evil idea popped up. That is to actively feed the spoon to the male protagonist and said that in Russia this is a normal thing. Ah, so you have speed. Come over here, okay? So you died in my heart to see me, Cookie. Oh, come to the Deepa cat. And this scene, it also made the melon eaters next to it look down. With this little episode, Ellie's mood finally recovered a little. So I asked myself how I could win the game. The male protagonist said that there is no chance of winning from the front. Only like the current president, use special tactics to win hearts and minds. At first, the president was just a dead house, but due to obvious changes in appearance, plus your grades got better, it made him a role model for many of his classmates. In the end, he deserved to be selected. Hearing this, Ellie gradually understood. It seems to be to make the students around them recognize themselves, the hard side. But how exactly? Think a little bit about this male protagonist. Think the next graduation ceremony would be a good time. That is, the incident of the student union cadres. Ellie, just express what you want to convey. Don't force yourself to do something deliberately, because his current performance is excellent enough. What about the inside of the test? Violent Rice and I are going to take a break. The mapo tofu ordered by the male protagonist also came up, since the spiciness is just to his taste, so I invited Ellie to watch it often. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he regretted it, just because he suddenly remembered that the other party can't eat spicy food. Haha, But how could Ellie refuse so easily? So I'm ready to take a bite, and the result can be imagined. On the way back, Ellie is curious about who she will choose as a partner. That is the same as the male lead position, vice president candidate. The male protagonist thought he would choose Drum Mountain. After all, the other party was in junior high school, and people who compete until the last moment. If it were him, things would get tricky. But the male protagonist never imagined. The game found an old acquaintance of the two of them. The other party is not just a maid, and it also has its own thermal insulation properties. Normally, Lin Nai was supposed to be the common bucket of the siblings, but because the male protagonist followed his father after his parents divorced, grandfather forbade him to step into the Zhoufang family. He's not even allowed to claim to be a playful brother. After learning that the male lead is going to help, Ellie ran for president but did not choose her own sister. Lin Na asked him out alone to ask why. After all, Grandpa was very angry. The male protagonist also knows that the other party has misunderstood. So, explain the matter entirely out of personal will. I didn't mean to be hostile to the game. At the same time, he also bluntly stated that if my grandfather has an opinion, then go straight to him. After that, Lin Nai shared the content of the conversation between the two, told the game. This also surprises the game. It seems that his brother is serious. Awesome for such tiger and wolf words. There is a play and a face of confusion, so he hurriedly asked the other party, "Did you fall in love with the male protagonist?" Although Lin Nai said that he only has love and respect, but what happened next betrayed him. My master calls us Marsum. What knife do you want? Definitely hand cut. What, Total Q. No, all lost and didn't fall. Fall to you, but not to you. I must be a fighter. Go wear this. Yuki has already seen through his underpants. In comparison, it's unpredictable under the horse. Although on the surface it may seem harmless to humans and animals, but sometimes words and deeds can be dangerous. Izosi. I don't know if it was intentional or intentional. After a while, everyone found that the drink had bottomed out. It was Marcia who volunteered to go out and buy some, and you have to pull the male lead together. Although a little confusing, but who would refuse the request of the lovely big sister? But what makes the male protagonist curious is the other party deliberately in front of Ellie. Hide the shocking side. Classical Masia said, "I just don't want to compete with my sister, because Ellie grew up doing everything she could. That's what she likes most about Ellie." From God's perspective, it is not difficult to see that Martha wants to put the male protagonist, give it to my sister. But now the male protagonist, you can't hear the subtext. I just think Marcia is really a good sister. Your mind is full of, but then the next step turned around and questioned the male protagonist. Say, didn't he also hide his shocked side? The male protagonist was surprised after hearing this, and then he explained, "I just want to make my life easier. This way, no one will rely on. Yes, eggs. Take away everyone with me. Table. Hungry. I'm talking about the big question. You are the grandpa. Nandita. Nanga, Masa, Sunga. Bunch big picture. Missed. It's hard for you to see the fighting grid all the way." The next day at school, Ellie is about to rush to the classroom. Unexpectedly, a girl with glasses came to me at this time. It's junior high school, Shiwa Yuki's strong opponent for president. Ask him why he stole Yuki's partner. Wenyan Ellie exploded in an instant. After all, he didn't use any dirty means. The noise of two people quickly attracted the attention of the surrounding students. Seeing this, the male protagonist quickly ran over and indicates that things are not what he thought at all and that it is voluntary. But Taniyama flew but didn't listen. On the contrary, "We will hold a meeting as soon as the students come back," which completely shattered their confidence. Ellie decisively accepted the other party's challenge, but he never thought of it that, on the day of the debate, the male protagonist suddenly asked him a strange question. And I washed that hard one. You don't have a secret one. It's impossible. And the reason why the male protagonist is so bold is because he actually wants to relieve Ellie's nervousness. The topic of this debate is to import the teacher review process when participating in student government. Gushin's opinion is that the same teacher intervenes in this way, so that those who usually have poor grades and conduct are no better than you. The voice just fell off stage and they were talking. Obviously, this is aimed at like the male protagonist, a poor learner. Then it was Ellie's turn to speak on stage, and everybody in the audience thought he couldn't turn the plate. But he didn't have stage fright. It means that if the teacher is involved, then not only will the authority of the student council be reduced, it makes people feel that there is no teacher's help and the threat cannot be maintained. After a passionate speech, the male protagonist thinks the answer is not bad, at least 55 with each other. And then there's the free-to-answer session. Taniyama asked if one day what if the president and vice president are out of control. However, just as Ellis was figuring out how to deal with it, next to Grandma Yawatch on Time sent a message. Time. A small group of students under the stage began to discuss and said that Ellie transferred from outside and asked if he really knows their school. Wenyan Ellie was suddenly at a loss and even forgot the question asked by the other party. The male protagonist at a glance can see that this is Grandma's way, so he asked Ellie to 10,000 stars and to just leave it to him. However, what no one expected was that the male protagonist turned the tide in an instant with just a few words. He He expressed that there is no need to debate this issue at all because the president was also a no long ago notably poor student, but now, through hard work, became a role model for everyone. If you use Taniyama's theory, he certainly won't get the teacher's approval, and the reality is that as long as you are willing to change, so anyone can become a student president. So this one, there's no point in arguing. After hearing the man's words, Taniyama ran out of the house directly. Ellie chased after him. The remaining teammates also offered to admit defeat. It turns out that the reason why Taniyama doesn't like Ellie is because he thinks the male protagonist and the game is the best partner. He has always felt this way since junior high school, but now the male protagonist has been taken away by Ellie. This made him very unhappy. Ellie said he doesn't know why the male protagonist chose himself, but he just wanted to respond to the expectations of the male protagonist. So he's going to go the extra mile, and one day it will be recognized by Gushin. So Ellie goes back into the auditorium to tell the male protagonist what happened just now. The male protagonist also had some doubts after listening. The reason why he wants to help Ellie is it entirely your own decision, but why did Ellie agree to be with him? What about running for election? Your plain face last night, I was talking to Arabad, Guangdongare. Why does she know? Jilly, just after the debate, winning Ellie instantly became the focus of the school, and the drum mountain that escaped but was ridiculed by the crowd. Ellie felt very sad when she saw this scene because that's not what he wants. So he found the male protagonist alone to see if we can do something about it and help the other party recover the reputation. The male protagonist didn't want to be nosy, but it's Ellie's request after all, so naturally there is no reason to refuse. Not to mention before, they said they would fully support him. Ellie was a little shy when she heard this. Just when the atmosphere is a little delicate, the male protagonist noticed that someone seemed to be under the table and wanted to seize the opportunity to leave here, as if nothing had happened. Okay, Ellie's expression has been unintentional. Why didn't you hit? Passed. Saw the student president and his girlfriend here too. Ellie's toes instantly ripped out 3 bedrooms and 1 living room. Then I made up a random reason and I left here in a panic. And the male protagonist went to the class where Furuyama's partner was level, trying to use this person to help the other party recover the bottle seal. Then the two arrived at an empty classroom. The male lead is straight to the point and expressed that you want him to help quell the gossip of Gushin. At first, Grandma didn't understand each other's intentions. After all, from a standpoint, they are enemies, and it was his undercover agent during the previous debate intentionally inciting other students. After hearing that the male protagonist did it for his partner, he understood, because in a way, the two are the same. Both have a vision for a dazzling partner. After expressing that the matter was handed over to him, Grandma Yabian left first, and the male protagonist suddenly remembered the plot in the manga. This is not the time to call out his subordinates. Is it a good time to stalk secretly? Out now. Send. Manic. After that, Grandma returned to the classroom. Drawing on the curiosity of his classmates, he told the truth about the debate competition. The reason why Gushin gave up the debate halfway through is actually he caused it because he is there. The ghost planted in the audience was found out by Gushin. The male protagonist wants to ease his relationship with Ellie, so he take the initiative to invite him to the student's office for homework. But just when the two were chatting a little speculatively, unexpectedly, you hoped to drink spiritual milk, but walked in at this time and also expressed his desire to review with them. Yet, a Leong. Why is Weaver so shy? Why are you pouring it back? After a while, Ma Sia also came in. After seeing the hypnosis on the table, she immediately came nature and wanted to let Ellie try him, but was ruthlessly rejected because Ellie doesn't believe it at all. In desperation, I had to ask the male protagonist for help. The male protagonist was also dubious at first. You can wait until you follow the prompts in the book, only to find out that it seems to really work. Ellie thought her sister was pretending, but never got a response. Seeing this, the male protagonist quickly tried the method of lifting it. After an operation, the other party not only woke up, I even forgot that it just happened. Seeing Ellie's questioning face, some suggestions might as well let him try it too. After all, you can only know if it's true or false if you've experienced it yourself. Ellie asked the male protagonist to let the horse come over, threatening that this farce will soon be solved. Wow, stupid. You do stead, not you. 100% of the coins will not be paid to you. Yeah, it doesn't matter. You know what? I can see you then. I like you. It's so like you. Then Yuki stood next to the two of them and said they would lose their minds next. Even the mind and body become knacked. Every second they thought, they both stood up. Then they walked together in the direction of the male protagonist. But what Yuxi didn't expect was the next scene is not the male protagonist opening the harem, but under the horse. At this moment, Ellie's heart seemed to be a little hot. I didn't wait for the male protagonist to react. Ellie unbuttoned her coat. However, a wave of unresolved waves began began again. Masha was not far behind and made an unexpected move. See, the male protagonist hurriedly tried to lift it with the previous method, but it failed. Just when a few people were at a loss, the student president's girlfriend just showed up. After understanding things, he directly knocked the two unconscious with a hand knife. And wait until the two wake up. The male protagonist never thought of it. I always like to hide my shame in Russian mixed-race jokes, but today I suddenly hit him with a ball. Watching the cute look of the other party feeding themselves and the shocked eyes of the surrounding guests, in this moment the male protagonist feels that he has been firmly pinched by him. What he didn't expect was next Ellie. It continued like nothing had happened. Eat it, as if he didn't care about indirect kissing at all. So it wasn't that long ago. The male protagonist wanted to study hard before the exam. But what do you love most? Man is going live soon. Just as he was struggling unexpectedly, Ellie called at this moment. Yes, and that's exactly the question. Because the male protagonist is really unmotivated now, so to help him perk up, Ellie made a bet with the male protagonist. If the results come out and the other party can enter the school 30 years ago, then he can grant the male protagonist a wish. On the contrary, you need to agree to his request. As soon as these words came out, the male protagonist was full of energy. After all, he just turned 16 some time ago. Wenyi and Ellie immediately noticed his small thoughts. Therefore, it means that it must be within the scope of conscience. After the call ended, the male protagonist was slightly surprised. Didn't expect each other? I actually guessed my current state. But I don't know if it's because when Ellie watches horror movies she gets too scared, so she just decided to call him temporarily. However, compared to these, Ellie is more concerned about the male protagonist's birthday now. He didn't understand why it had been so long that the other party hadn't told him. Wait until the exam is over. The male protagonist also found something wrong here because, since the last phone call, Ellie stopped using Russian to hide her shame. In order to clarify the original, after school he asked the other party if there was anything on his mind. Ellie was also a little surprised by this. I didn't expect my little thoughts to be guessed. In that case, he's not going to pretend. So he questioned the male protagonist. Why in the first place he didn't invite himself to his birthday party? Hearing this, the male protagonist was instantly stunned because, since graduating from primary school, he never did it again. But seeing each other so eager to celebrate their birthday, he decided to invite Ellie to a belated birthday party. Although it seems a little inexplicable, but Ellie didn't refuse. So the two made an appointment to be together the next day. Because of Ellie, the influence of being born with a beautiful girl's aura, leading along the way attracted the attention and amazement of many people. However, in this case, Ellie is used to it. He also said that he had encountered men who took the initiative to strike up a conversation in the past, and he talks in Russian all the time until the other person gives up. Then the two went to a barbecue restaurant. During the period, the male protagonist Ellie explained the process of running for student council president and areas that require special attention. But what he didn't expect was this time, Ellie didn't borrow help from Russian to express your inner thoughts. Instead, she praised him directly in Japanese for being cute. Even to thank the male protagonist, he actually hand-fed the food. And this sudden move suddenly made the male protagonist a little at a loss. Then Ellie took out the prepared birthday present. Inside is a mug. However, after learning that Ellie also had one at home and the two are still couples with the same style, the male protagonist's face instantly turned red into a bubble teapot. He felt that he was no match for Ellie today. The next day, the school held 3 party talks. In short, the head teacher has face-to-face communication between students and parents. The president left first because his family arrived. The male protagonist, because of the last hypnosis incident, has a relationship with the horse that is a bit delicate, so he found an opportunity to talk to the other person. And after learning he didn't do anything out of the ordinary, just touch the back of the male protagonist's head, this also made Masya breathe a sigh of relief. But for other parts of himself to be seen by the male protagonist, he's still a little grumpy about that. After saying that, he took action to educate the male protagonist. Soon, Masha's mother also arrived. There are only 3 people left in the office at this time. It's all family. Yuki immediately took off her disguise and became a clingy person attached to his brother. The male protagonist is also very speechless. Then the male protagonist's phone rang. After learning that it was Grandpa who came, the male protagonist hurried out to greet. I didn't expect the other party's dress, but like a secret agent. However, just as the two were sitting outside the door, waiting, unexpectedly, I happened to bump into Ellie and his mother. See this scene. Grandpa was not calm in an instant because he loves Russia very much, so when you see the Russians, you get very emotional. And Ellie's mother also recognized the male lead. In private, my daughter always talks about him. Just when the male protagonist was a little embarrassed, only to find that my grandfather had suddenly disappeared. I said I was a Ramboka from Ryoma for 5 years. I have no Cree. A few Marshas robbed it without your cue. The male protagonist never thought of it. Good sister, in order to help herself get rid of the order, would take the initiative to attack his muse. First, he deliberately revealed the news of his cold, then subtly hint at each other, "I hope to visit you at home." And in the face of Yuki's pressing, kind, and upright, Ellie naturally there is no reason to refuse. So the next day he went to the male protagonist's house. Not only does it bring many nourishing ingredients, she also turned into a caring little cook. I plan to cook for the male chef myself. But what he doesn't know is the reason why the game does this. In fact, there is another business. Also unknown as the male protagonist, he is immersed in the happiness of being fed by a mixed-race schoolflower. And when the male protagonist wakes up again, I didn't expect it to be night already. He thought Ellie had gone back, until the doors opened, just found out there is actually another maid in the house, Ling Mai. Don't think about it. It must be my sister's fault again. And looking at the intimacy between the two, Ellie was also puzzled because of the print. Xiangli Linai should serve Yuxi. I don't know why I took care of the male protagonist. Hearing this, Lin Nai felt guilty for a while. Then he threw Bo on Yuxi. It means that everything is a good command, and told him he could go back first. After all, Ellie has important things to do tomorrow. Hearing the words, the male protagonist just wanted to care. But I was told by Ellie that it was no big deal, and he was ready to leave. Although the male protagonist finds it a little strange, but didn't continue to ask, after eating the cold medicine, go back to the room to sleep. However, this sleep is terrible. When he woke up, it was already noon on the second day. Even to take care of myself, Lin Nai actually asked the school for leave too. This also made him feel more and more wrong the more he thought about it. Why am I so sleepy? Until Lin Nai brings the packaging box of the medicine, he discovered the truth. Although this medicine is effective, but it doesn't fit his physique. Therefore, once you take it, you will sleep for a long time. It seems that his sister is planning something. From the analysis of the current situation, it is obviously related to Ellie, so he rushed to school. Sure enough, just entered the classroom, he sees cases with frustrated faces. After communication, I realized it turns out that Yuxi found Ellie alone a few days ago. In addition to telling the male protagonist to catch a cold and hope he can help buy medicine, money to take care of, Yuki also invited him to participate in a school radio broadcast. The content is to discuss things related to the previous debate competition. Ali didn't want to bring it up again, but the other party's actions are too enthusiastic. Finally agreed. I never imagined the next second, I'm okay, I was testing it. It turns out that some people want to take advantage of the male protagonist's absence to defeat him as much as possible. And that makes the doctor stronger. Ellie, they think they're being looked down upon. So he decisively accepted the opponent's challenge, and the result was as expected. Although many countermeasures were envisaged in advance, but when it comes to actual response, Ellie was still disrupted by the other party's words. Yuki said the reason why he ran for president, it's for his absent brother. But what is Ellie fighting for? As soon as this statement comes out, caused Ellie's conversation to be a mess later. After the male protagonist listens, I also feel that the old sister's means are too much. You talk as if you were dead. But even so, that doesn't mean they lost. It seems that I need to take myself a little more seriously. He popped his belly button once. It's all dead. With this little episode, Ellie's mood has gradually returned to normal, coupled with the constant encouragement of the male protagonist that resembles a confession, completely dissipated the confusion in his mind. It is also at this time, Gushin and Grandma walked in together. Regarding the previous debate competition, Gushin wants to apologize solemnly to the two of them. For this, he also plans to declare defeat in front of the entire school. However, the male protagonist is a member of the student union, won't let him do that. If you want to respond to Ellie's sincerity, it's better to do it the other way, that is to join them and beat the game together. Let Ellie run successfully for student council president. To make sure there are no mistakes in this session tomorrow, the male protagonist and Ellie specially came to the auditorium to rehearse. Although the whole process went very smoothly, but Ellie always felt herself lack of calmness, and calmness like the male protagonist. So I asked if there were any skills. The male protagonist expressed his doubts about this. Not only can it relieve his stress, it also grabs the audience's attention, by the way. I didn't expect the male lead to just finish speaking. Liu Si and Ling Nai rushed over at this time. Although Ellie didn't know they were brother and sister, but it can be seen, the smell of gunpowder between the two is extremely strong now. When the atmosphere gets a little subtle, the president of the student council and others are also dedicated to this. The reason why I came to them, it's about the order of tomorrow's speeches. At this time, there are some suggestions that it is better to use guessing to decide, but the male protagonist is strongly opposed because he knew that Ellie understood it too well. If you show a little bit of mud on your expression, you will be seen through. So to be fair, the woman decided to do it by guessing heads and tails. Yeah. The horses on the side immediately became interested when they saw this. She's pretty good at flipping coins. As the coin is tossed into the air, yes, She's head was already considering whether to attack first or attack, and Ellie seemed to have an indifferent look on her face. Wait until the coin is in hand. I randomly guessed that it was face up, but it turned out to be the opposite, so the successive problems were thrown onto Yuxi. After some thought, there is hope that the male protagonist will choose to attack first to tie Ellie with herself, so he decided to strike first. Noise the the atmosphere to the highest level so as to completely defeat Ellie. In a flash, I arrived at the graduation ceremony the next day. President Cian and others went up and said some scenes. Then it was Yuki's turn to give a speech. The killer alkali he prepared, it's this suggestion box in my hand. Because everyone thinks it's useless to vote, so a year down, the advice inside is simply empty. But some said that if he became president, will fulfill the needs in this suggestion box, whether it is student season or various festival activities. As long as someone mentions him, he will try his best to achieve it. Hearing this, the man was speechless, although this handle is big enough. But after talking for a long time, it feels like nothing. However, the reaction of the students was rather intense. Next, it's Lingnai's turn to play. The testimonials he gave were also very easy to understand. That is to say, over and over the advantages of having a play. In the end, I hope everyone will play a role, and it will be over. As soon as the voice fell off the stage, warm applause sounded. Then came Love. In order to bring the students' emotions back to normal, first he opened his mouth 11. A series of Russian speeches directly deceived everyone present. Then, while everyone is paying attention, when transferred to oneself, and he was calmly explaining, I just spoke Russian out of nervousness, and then they're reintroduced in Japanese. And Ellie's tactics are relatively simple. The main thing is a sincerity. He thinks he has to work harder than anyone else. After all, his academic performance and sports are all #1 in school, but at the same time he also knows one person's strength alone is not enough. So if next year he doesn't think he's fit to be president, then he will voluntarily withdraw from the election. I hope everyone can take a good look at their future selves. He will strive to become the student president you've been waiting for. The voice just fell. The audience was full of applause and did not lose at all to the game. Wait until the male lead comes on the field. First, I deliberately set up a middle 2 action to cool the scene, and then we went straight to the point. The short answer is to remind everyone. The president is not capable of working well or responsible people. They are people who are attracted to and recognized by everyone to become president. So he wants everyone to cheer for Ellie. But it's not over yet. In the end, he also lost a Wang Fried. Taniyama and Grandma also invited them up and said that if Ellie became president, so the two people who used to go head-to-head with Ellie, I will also join the student union to work together. As soon as this sentence comes out, directly confuse the students again. And the male protagonist owes it all to Love. After the speech, Yuki also feels that he lost this contest, but only this time he won't show mercy later. Until the moment the final grades come out, since the male protagonist did not enter the first 3 lives of the school, so the last time I made a bet with Ellie, he lost. In theory, you should agree to a request from the other party, but Ellie was hesitant to say much. I thought you were mysterious and crazy. You can't start hiding by yourself. After some thought, the male protagonist is ready to take action. Since they are partners, already known to the whole school, so in order to show the friendship between the two, he proposed not to address each other by name from now on. As soon as these words came out, Ellie was a little overwhelmed. After a shy consent, the atmosphere was also once awkward. In the end, the male protagonist broke the general first. Thank you so much, Masada Kago. After reading the main package, must complain. As a dinner party with the theme of campus love, obviously. As long as you send sugar properly, you can buy people's hearts. But the author wants to plug a student union. The plot of the election. It doesn't seem to be competing. If you choose you can't fall in love, it's really baffling. Good looking and well made, I'm sure you can see it. Ellie's appearance is indeed, it hit the aesthetic of many people. Occasional small gestures and coquetry, it makes people's hearts tighten. But unfortunately, these sparks are fragmented and short-lived, as if to extend the length and deliberately delayed Ellie's growth. On the other hand, his highly emotional sister and the scheming of the hero's sister, but by virtue of distinctive character and likable performance circle of fans, it's a little overwhelming. Anyway, if you set aside the election plot, just treat him as a romantic comedy. The main newspaper thinks it's still worth a look.